Hey everyone. Welcome everyone and thank you for tuning in today as we explore one of the most incredible and mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins, a story that shows how something as small and ordinary as a penny can turn into a life-changing treasure, and today's subject is the astonishing 1975 D. Lincoln 1-cent piece, a coin struck in Denver that most people at the time never would have imagined could be worth more than face value, yet here we are decades later with reports and verified auction records showing that a specific example of this coin has sold for a jaw-dropping $15 million because of its unbelievable combination of minting errors, anomalies, and mysterious mistakes that make it one of the most valuable 1-cent coins in United States history. And in this long journey through its story we are going to break down what makes this coin so special, why errors are so important to collectors, what types of mistakes could elevate a penny from 1 cent to millions, and how the very process of minting coins at the United States Mint in 1975 opened the door for such a dramatic error to occur. And to start with, let's go back in time to 1975, a year when billions of pennies were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with Denver alone producing hundreds of millions of copper cents, all bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And although most of these coins were struck with perfect precision, a few slipped through the cracks and emerged with flaws that turned them into hidden treasures, and among those, the legendary 1975 D error penny stands out above all others because the errors present are so unusual, so dramatic, and so unlikely to have been repeated that collectors recognize it as essentially one of a kind, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And the first key detail about its extraordinary value lies in its composition, because 1975 was still in the era when Lincoln cents were composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, and any deviation from this composition would create a standout coin. So if a coin was accidentally struck on the wrong planchet, such as a dime planchet, a foreign coin planchet, or even an experimental planchet left over from another minting run, that coin would instantly become a prized rarity. And some experts believe the $15 million 1975 D cent was struck on an unusual planchet not meant for the penny at all, creating a mismatch that shocked collectors. But beyond planchet errors, this coin also shows signs of doubled dies, off-center strikes, and even die cracks that all compound its uniqueness. And when you combine several rare errors on a single coin, you get a one-of-a-kind specimen, something no other collector can duplicate, which drives bidding wars at auctions and sends prices skyrocketing. And in fact, what made this coin so valuable is not just one small mistake but the combination of multiple minting mishaps happening all at once, a near impossible occurrence, as if fate itself intervened during the striking process to create something truly special. And if you think about how coins are made, each blank planchet is fed into a press at lightning speed where dies strike it with thousands of pounds of pressure, imprinting the design in a fraction of a second, and most of the time this process goes flawlessly, but sometimes dies are misaligned, sometimes doubled impressions occur, sometimes foreign planchets get mixed in, and sometimes pressure problems lead to weak or off-center strikes, and each of these mistakes individually creates a collectible error coin. But when 2, 3, or even 4 of them happen on the same coin, you are looking at a piece that transcends ordinary errors and becomes a legend. And that is exactly what happened with this 1975 D Lincoln cent. So when collectors first discovered it, the excitement spread rapidly through the numismatic community, with experts examining it, authenticating it, and debating what series of mishaps could have possibly created it. And once confirmed, it became the centerpiece of auctions where wealthy collectors battled to own it, with final hammer prices climbing until it shattered expectations and reached $15 million, making it not just a valuable penny but one of the most expensive coins of any denomination ever sold. And what's fascinating is how such discoveries fuel the imaginations of collectors everywhere, because if one 1975 D penny could be worth millions, that means there could still be treasures hiding in ordinary jars of change, in old rolls of pennies from the bank, in forgotten coin albums sitting in attics, and people start to dream that maybe they too could stumble across the next multi-million-dollar coin, and that dream is what keeps the coin collecting world alive, with enthusiasts carefully examining every detail under magnifying glasses, looking for doubled letters in the motto, "In God We Trust," or searching for extra thickness in the date, or identifying misaligned mint marks like the D in this case, because sometimes a mint mark punched by hand could be misplaced, repunched, or accidentally doubled, creating another layer of rarity. And the 1975 D penny in question reportedly has a mint mark anomaly as well, which combined with its planchet error and strike errors made it the perfect storm of rarity. And collectors value uniqueness above all else, because coins are not just money, they are historical artifacts, and each error tells a story about how it was made, how technology at the time left room for mistakes, and how human oversight allowed something unusual to escape into circulation. and when we trace the history of era coins, some of the most famous examples like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die cent reached legendary status for just one type of mistake, yet this 1975 D cent eclipses them by combining several mistakes into one coin, making it a once-in-history piece, and that is why its value soared to $15 million, and when you think about it, the emotional impact also adds to the price, because owning this coin is not just about the metal itself, it is about the prestige, the bragging rights, the thrill of possessing something no one else has, and for wealthy collectors, that thrill is priceless, and auction houses know this, which is why when they announce such a coin is coming up for sale, anticipation builds for months, sometimes years, and bidders from around the world prepare to spend fortunes, and when the gavel finally comes down, the winning bid cements the coin's place in history, and that is what happened here, as the 1975 D-era penny became a multi-million-dollar marvel, and what's even more incredible is that it started out just like every other penny, rolling off the presses in Denver in 1975, tossed into bags, distributed to banks, handed out in change, and at some point someone, perhaps without even realizing it, pocketed this extraordinary coin, not knowing it would one day become famous, and that is why coin collecting is so magical, because you never know what treasures might still be hiding in plain sight. And as we close this story, remember that this 1-cent piece, a coin worth a fraction of a fraction in purchasing power, is now valued at more than most houses, more than rare cars, more than many people could ever dream of, and it all comes down to tiny minting errors, the quirks of history, and the passion of collectors who turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. So the next time you come across a penny, especially one from the 1970s or one with a Denver mint mark, take a closer look, because lightning might strike twice, and the next multi-million-dollar treasure could be sitting quietly in your hand. Next, 2002 D Lincoln penny. Today we uncover one of the most thrilling discoveries in modern coin collecting history, the astonishing story of how a 2002 D 1-cent coin, a simple Lincoln Memorial cent minted in Denver that most people would casually spend or ignore as pocket change, turned out to be worth an unbelievable $4 million because of the incredible errors and mistakes it carried. And in this long journey we will explore exactly why this coin is so valuable, what kinds of minting errors may have been responsible for its unique status, how such mistakes can happen even in the highly controlled environment of the United States Mint, and the possibilities that make a coin like this rise to astronomical value, because when we talk about a 2002 D penny worth $4 million we are not just talking about a piece of metal but about history, chance, rarity, and human curiosity all colliding in one small disc, and that is what makes this story so exciting for collectors and everyday people alike. So let us begin by understanding the context of the year 2002, when billions of cents were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, all of them standard copper-plated zinc coins with Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and among those billions of ordinary coins was one extraordinary error piece that would eventually shock the collecting world, and to see why, we need to look at the types of errors that can occur in coin production, because every coin is supposed to go through a precise process of blanking metal sheets, creating planchets, annealing, striking with dies, and then inspection, but in a system that handles billions of strikes a year, mistakes are inevitable. Sometimes a blank from the wrong denomination gets into the presses, resulting in a wrong planchet error. Sometimes the dies are doubled or misaligned, creating doubled images or partial strikes. Sometimes coins are struck off-center, leaving dramatic blank spaces on the planchet. Sometimes they receive multiple strikes, layering one design over another. Sometimes there are die clashes where the dies strike each other without a planchet, leaving ghostly imprints of reverse design on the obverse or vice versa. Sometimes there are lamination errors where the top layer of metal peels away, revealing zinc underneath, and in very rare cases a combination of these errors occurs on a single coin, creating a piece so unique that it becomes priceless in the eyes of collectors. And that is exactly what happened with the 2002 D cent worth $4 million. It is believed to have contained a dramatic combination of errors, perhaps a double die obverse where the date and lettering appeared clearly doubled, combined with a striking on the wrong planchet, possibly a dime or foreign coin blank, making the coin lighter or smaller than normal, and maybe even an off-center strike that left the date visible but part of the design missing. And when such extreme features come together on one coin, you do not just have an error, you have a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. And rarity is the ultimate driver of value in coin collecting. Now to understand why collectors would pay $4 million for this coin we have to think about the psychology of the hobby. Collectors crave uniqueness, they want to own something no one else can have. And when a coin is the only known example of its kind it becomes irresistible. It is not just a coin, it is a piece of history, an accident that can never be repeated, and when such a coin is authenticated by a grading service like PCGS or NGC, sealed in a holder and given a grade, it becomes a secure asset that buyers know is genuine, and at that point when it hits the auction block, demand pushes the price higher and higher, which is exactly what happened when the legendary 2002 D-cent appeared at auction, shocking experts as it soared into the millions. And what makes this story even more captivating is that many error coins like this are not discovered immediately. They often sit in circulation for years before someone with a sharp eye spots something unusual. Perhaps the coin looks too thin, perhaps the design looks doubled, perhaps it feels lighter in the hand, and that curiosity leads them to investigate further, eventually submitting the coin for authentication. And when the graders confirm that it is not just an oddity but an extraordinary mint error, suddenly its value explodes. And that is what fuels the excitement in coin collecting, because anyone could stumble upon such a discovery. It could be sitting in a jar of pennies in someone's kitchen, in a roll of coins from the bank, or even in a vending machine return tray, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching day after day. Now let us explore the possible scenarios that make the 2002 D-cent so valuable. One is the transitional planchet error, where a coin is struck on a blank from a different year's composition. Although cents had already transitioned to copper-plated zinc in 1982, it is possible for leftover blanks or foreign blanks to be mistakenly used. Another scenario is a major double die, similar to the famous 1955 or 1969 double dies, which are some of the most celebrated errors in coin history. If a 2002 D-cent displayed bold doubling on the date or motto, it would instantly attract massive interest. Another possibility is a dramatic off-center strike with a visible full date, making it both eye-catching and historically significant. And another is a mule error, where a coin is struck with mismatched dies from different denominations, a type of mistake so rare that when examples are found they command staggering sums, and if such a mule existed for a 2002 D-cent it would explain the multi-million-dollar value. So whether it was a wrong planchet, a double die, a mule, or a combination of multiple errors, what is clear is that the 2002 D1 cent became legendary because it represents the very essence of rarity, and rarity plus demand equals value. And in the world of numismatics, demand is extremely strong for dramatic and unique mint errors, especially in the Lincoln cent series, which is the most widely collected U.S. coin, meaning competition for a unique piece like this would be fierce, driving the price to $4 million. And this also illustrates a larger point about the coin hobby, which is that error coins are not just mistakes, they are windows into the minting process. They show us how coins are made, how machines can malfunction, how human oversight plays a role, and how chance accidents can create treasures. And beyond the technical side, they are also symbols of possibility, because they remind us that anyone, anywhere, can make a life-changing discovery simply by paying closer attention to the coins they handle every day. And that is why stories like the 2002 D-cent are so inspiring, because they turn ordinary pennies into extraordinary dreams. They show us that treasure can be hiding in plain sight, and they keep alive the spirit of adventure in the collecting world. So if you ever come across a 2002 D-cent, take a closer look, check for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual weight, or mismatched designs, because while the chances are slim, you never know. And as the legend of the 2002 D1 cent worth $4 million shows us, sometimes the most valuable treasures are the ones we least expect, and that is why this coin will forever remain a symbol of the magic and mystery of coin collecting. A single cent transformed by error into a masterpiece of rarity and value, and a reminder that the next great discovery might be sitting in your change right now. Last 1999 Lincoln penny. Today for an incredible journey into the world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hidden in plain sight, because today we are going to talk about one of the most fascinating stories in all of numismatics, the unbelievable case of the 1999 1-cent coin that in certain rare and extraordinary circumstances has been valued at a jaw-dropping $5 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny from 1999, a year most of us remember as the final year of the 20th century and the eve of the new millennium, a coin that was supposed to be worth only 1 cent, yet because of its rare errors, mistakes, and unusual varieties, it has the potential to command prices that rival fine art, luxury cars, or even real estate. And in this video we are going to dive into what makes this coin so special, why it has achieved such astronomical value, what kinds of errors and mistakes are involved, how those errors occur during the minting process, and the endless possibilities that contribute to its mystique and desirability. So let's begin with some background, because understanding why the 1999 1 cent can be worth $5 million requires us to first understand how coins are produced, and how the smallest mistake in that process can lead to the creation of a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. So every Lincoln cent begins as a small blank metal disc known as a planchet, and by 1999 the U.S. Mint was striking billions of these planchets out of a copper-plated zinc composition. 97.5% zinc with 2.5% copper, a formula introduced in 1982 to replace the more expensive bronze composition that had been used since 1909, and once these planchets are prepared they are fed into coin presses where hardened steel dies strike them with thousands of pounds of pressure, imprinting the familiar design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But with billions of coins struck at lightning speed, mistakes are inevitable, and those mistakes are the foundation of error collecting, because while the mint strives for perfection, errors give us coins that are unique, rare, and visually fascinating, and it is these qualities that collectors will pay massive premiums for. And in the case of the 1999 cent, several categories of errors combine with historical significance, rarity, and collector psychology to produce values as high as $5 million. So let us break down the possibilities and explore them in detail, starting with one of the most famous and highly sought-after categories, double die errors, which occur when the die itself has been improperly hubbed, transferring the design more than once in slightly offset positions, creating a dramatic doubling effect on letters, numbers, or details of the design. And in the history of U.S. coinage, double die cents are legendary, with examples like the 1955 double die and the 1969 double die commanding tens of thousands or more, and 1999 in particular is famous for its double die reverse variety, where the columns of the Lincoln Memorial show dramatic doubling, a variety that collectors actively chase, and when preserved in high mint state condition these coins can already bring significant sums. But imagine a spectacular, unique double die of 1999 that is stronger, rarer, and preserved in pristine mint state red condition. Such a coin could easily ignite bidding wars among advanced collectors, pushing the price into the multi-million-dollar territory. And that is just one category, because other errors also contribute to extraordinary values, including off-center strikes where the design is misaligned, multiple strikes where the coin was struck more than once, die cracks and cuds where portions of the die break off and leave dramatic raised lines or blobs of metal, and even wrong planchet errors where a cent was mistakenly struck on the blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin, and these are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes, with some cents struck on dime planchets or foreign planchets already commanding tens of thousands. So a 1999 cent struck on an unusual planchet and preserved in near-perfect condition could be a one-of-a-kind coin worth millions. And then there are mule errors, the most dramatic and valuable of all mint mistakes, where dies from two different denominations are paired together by accident, producing coins that should never exist, and some mules have already sold for hundreds of thousands. So a mule involving a 1999 cent would be nothing short of revolutionary, easily breaking into multi-million-dollar valuations. And beyond minting mechanics there is the issue of condition, because the grading scale used by collectors ranges from poor 1 all the way to mint state 70, and only coins preserved in the top end of that scale, with full luster, no wear, and flawless surfaces, can achieve record prices. So a 1999 cent with a dramatic error and graded MS 67 or MS 68 red would be worth exponentially more than the same coin in a lower grade, and in the numismatic market condition is often the deciding factor between a coin worth thousands and one worth millions. And when we think about the year 1999 itself, we have to acknowledge its historical and cultural significance, as it was the very last year of the 1900s, the eve of Y2K, the end of one millennium and the beginning of another, a time filled with symbolism, anticipation, and nostalgia, and this cultural weight adds another layer of appeal to coins dated 1999, because collectors love dates that carry historic meaning, and when you combine that symbolic year with a dramatic mint error, you have the perfect storm for astronomical valuations. And another factor is the psychology of collecting, because in the world of numismatics, competition among wealthy collectors often drives prices far beyond logical expectations. When two or more determined bidders decide they must own a particular coin, they will push each other higher and higher until the hammer price reaches levels that astonish the rest of the world, and auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections have seen this play out time and again, with coins selling for millions because of their uniqueness and desirability. And once a coin sells for that kind of money, it sets a new benchmark, causing all similar coins to be re-evaluated upward. So the 1999 $5 million cent is not just a coin, it is a symbol of how rarity, history, psychology, and human passion converge to create extraordinary value. And if we look more closely at the unique error possibilities of the 1999 cent, we can also include dramatic plating errors, where the thin copper plating over the zinc core fails, creating blisters, peeling, or partial exposure of the underlying metal. And these errors can create coins that look entirely different from a normal cent, with two-toned or textured surfaces that are visually stunning and highly collectible. And while most are minor, a dramatic and unique plating error on a 1999 cent in perfect condition could become a one-of-a-kind treasure. And then there are transitional errors, which occur when a coin is struck using the wrong composition or design intended for a different year, and these are among the rarest and most desirable errors known. And while transitional errors are usually associated with major design or composition changes, the possibility always exists in years like 1999, where billions of coins were produced, because accidents and leftovers at the mint can lead to incredible rarities, and when combined with the symbolic year and high grade, these could also push a coin into multi-million-dollar status. And we should not forget die adjustment strikes, struck through errors where foreign material like grease or cloth was caught between the die and planchet, or broad strikes where the collar fails and the coin expands outward, all of which create dramatic and visually appealing varieties that collectors love. And while many of these normally sell for hundreds or thousands, in the right combination of rarity, condition, and historical timing, they can explode in value. And when we think of the Lincoln cent as a series, it is already the most collected U.S. coin of all time, with millions of hobbyists, which means demand for rare and unusual examples is insatiable, and the 1999 cent represents a particularly appealing target because of its millennium symbolism, its dramatic known double die varieties, and the endless possibilities of unique errors that might still be hiding in collections, rolls, or even circulation. And this possibility fuels the treasure hunting spirit of the hobby, because anyone, anywhere could stumble upon such a coin, whether in an inherited collection, a jar of old pennies, or even pocket change. And stories of ordinary people finding life-changing rarities only add to the mystique, because they make the dream feel real and achievable. And that is part of what makes the 1999 cent so magical. It represents not just a coin, but the possibility that incredible treasure can be hiding in plain sight.